Hello and welcome back. This is the Clay Golem. This is Foundry VTT. This is Curse of Strahd. This is editor here just before we get stuck into the video proper. You'll have to forgive, there is an issue with my sound. We've had an update to my recording software and it has decided to do weird things and massively overdo my volumes and stuff like that. So apologies for that. You'll have to bear with it on this video. I really don't have time today to re-record the whole thing. So apologies for that. Stick with it. On with the show. I will try and do as much in the editing as possible to calm that down a little. Take care. See you soon. Hello and welcome back. This is the Clay Golem. This is Foundry VTT. This is Curse of Strahd. It has been a little while, but finally we are back with an update. So there will be a link in the description to the latest update. If you already have this, of course you can just go to your Foundry add-ons, click update, and it will automatically update to this latest version for you. Did want to do a video rather than just doing a post to say this is released, because I wanted to talk you through a few bits. We are on Arc T as part of Act 4, so we're very near the end. We're not that far off, but boy is this a big one, and it's quite complicated as well. So an awful lot happens in this arc. We've got the descent from the mountain, we've got return to Vallaki, and then we're off to deal with the Fane. So the Swamp Fane, Forest Fane, and the Mountain Fane. To bury those gems, release the Fanes, kicks off the final encounter with Strahd kind of arc. So now the reason why I wanted to do a video is because it gets a bit messy. So we're following Dragna Reloaded, and don't take this the wrong way, this is not a criticism of his rewrite of the module. It's not, it really isn't, but some of it's really tricky to then make it work as part of Foundry. Okay, so that's where the tricky bit comes in. But it also gets very complicated because they can go all over the place. So first of all, descent from the mountain. We've got the Chief's Longhouse, which is all a description thing. We've got the Twin Falls again. We're back to the shrine where we have another conversation with the old Storm Giant. We're off to the Cavern of Lights. So I've included this in here just with some double-click tokens here just to show the different Fanes as they converse with the different Fanes and ask the questions. They're all then off for the mountain trail, where they're heading up to the peak of the mountain to find the rock nest and the first of the gems. Now, I did have a different map in here. I've changed it out. This is my map that I made, and this is where things start to fall apart. Not really. That's not the right word. We are using Aeon Bar's Curse of Strahd maps for Reloaded. However, it's not a complete pack, and it's missing a whole bunch of maps that we need for various things, especially as Dragna has recently updated and made alterations to it. So we don't have some maps. Now, I did find a couple of maps online for this one that absolutely you can use. Problem is I can't distribute them because I don't have permissions, so I need to make sure I'm using maps and resources and things that I can share. So I threw this one together. It's not brilliant, but it's better than nothing. How much do your players care? So players come on the bottom here, find their way around, and of course we've got the rock there. So you know, any of my maps in here, I know I'm not good at them. That's fine. Swap them out for other maps if you want to and stuff like that. But we've got something which is great. We can go ahead with that. Potentially returning to the Wizard of Wines, of course. So I've got all of this in here with that new encounter. This is pretty much the same map as before, which is fine. Returning to Vallaki with the gates, and the cultists are waiting for them. So this is the original map we used for the other gate, and I've just flipped it around to be the gate for the other side. Easy peasy. Why not? Why reinvent the wheel when you don't have to? I just realised I've got a strange light here. I think that was it should have been that light there. I flipped the map round and haven't moved the light, so there's a little mistake. I will fix that. Same with these ones over here. These don't actually mean anything anymore. Obviously, I've not done the lights. There we go. Always something, isn't there? Off to the, potentially to the church, of course. This is changed. I've got rid of the other things, turned all the lights off. This is ready to go. The Blue Water Inn. We know the Blue Water Inn. We've been here many times. It's somewhat abandoned at this point. However, they still live there, so they're still in here, which is all good. The Burgomaster's Mansion. And of course, we've got, this is depending how it went for you guys, this will be different. The Burgomaster's been deposed, probably, because Lady Watchter is now in charge. So we've removed some of the people we don't need from here now. But again, you know, you're just going to have to adapt this depending on what your party have done. Town Square we've reset up. We've put our people in here, including Blinsky, who's now in the stocks. We didn't have a token for Blinsky before, but now we do. So that's kind of all in there, ready to go. And of course, the lights are ready. If they come here in the dark, you can just flick the lights on, etc. Now that's all relatively straightforward. We've recovered the gem from the Rock's Nest, so we've got one of the gems now, and the other ones that they're various ones that they are collecting. One of the gems they need to get is from Babala Saga's Creeping Hut, and also deal with the Swamp Vein at the same time. Now this is where it got a bit weird. So when they return to the swamp, the entire of Berez is surrounded by a giant hedge maze, and this is where we suddenly didn't have loads of maps. You can go all over the place and stuff like that, and I ummed and ahed, and I made maps, and I deleted them, and I used other bits and bobs, and I tried a number of different ways to do this, but this is kind of what I settled on. So approach to Berez, just setting the scene. Yes, I know I've got an individual there, but I wanted to leave that in to give some kind of idea of the scale of what this kind of looked like, this hedge maze. Now inside the hedge maze itself, I used the original map, although I have scaled it slightly different. So rather than describing the scene and moving through the maze, and then having individual encounters, because we didn't have a map specific for the North Cottages or the Town Green or for the South Cottages, or well, we did have one for the churchyard and things. I didn't want to make all those maps because it wasn't going to work. So we're using this map at a different scale, and now the players can actually find their own way through the maze. I know it's not brilliant, and I think about my players and how much they'll care. They won't. They won't care at all. So we've put out the maze here and just put all the hedgerows in, with walls, of course, so the players will have to work their way through the maze. And this is a timed run, basically. The longer they're in here, the worse it gets. So the South Cottages, we have got our various characters in here. Now, they are all hidden unless... So you can see they are in here, I promise. We've got our witches in there. They are ready to go if they go to the South Cottages. If they go to the North Cottages first, we've got the Strix in here. And you can see the scale that I've changed this map to, so that actually the player characters are the same size as this. So you can actually just do your battle direct on here, just zoom in. Now, because it's quite a large map, it might take a little while to load, but you can do it all in one scene pretty much. I'll come to that in a moment. The Town Green on this map, which is Aeon Bar's map, there isn't really a Town Green, but it's a mire. And the way that they link the North and South Cottages, I've shoved it in here. Whatever, don't care. It's a flooded green. That will do nicely. We don't need to worry about it too much. They can move around to the churchyard, and I've got the churchyard encounter here with the Will-o'-wisps. Now this gets really confusing because it talks about being able to go from the churchyard into the manor cellar, and when you read the kind of description, it's like, well, hang on a minute, surely the manor cellar is attached to the manor. but it's kind of the way the module reads, is it's kind of a completely separate thing, which is a bit weird. Now, I do want to point out that there's a part of the module where they can look through and see through the hedge, the manor beyond, and they can push through that hedge. So that's what this bit here is for. This is no movement restriction, so the players can push through the hedge there and shortcut that off. The maze was a pain in the bum to do. We have got a separate map for the monument, but actually it's such a small encounter for this purpose, I didn't bother using a whole separate map for it. When we come to here, we've got the steps to the cellar manor, which I've just put that on there. In fact, actually, I'm not sure if I've even got that hidden. Want to make sure that's hidden so the players aren't reading it. But when we come to this scene here, we've got the steps to the manor, the garden, and the manor itself. We do have a completely separate scene for that. So let's just jump to that. So if they come into this section, just jump to here. Here we go. We've got the gardens down here, the encounter for the gardens here. We've got the actual manor ruins themselves, and again this is back to Aeon Bar's map, so that is there. And just off to the side here we do have the cellar itself. Now again, it's a bit weird. In the module it talks about basically being able to pass through the cellar from one end to the other. It doesn't map with Aeon Bar's map at all. I just decided to make that a separate encounter room all on its own. And of course we've got these horrible blinking carrier nets in here that yeah, creepy things. But they're all in there ready to go for you. Our scarecrows and everything else all ready to go, and we've got the old burgomaster's ghost here. Laszlo is in here, so that's all ready to go. Lovely jubbly, no problems. Now the goat pen, again, the goat pen, we do have a separate map for it, and on here it's flipping tiny. It doesn't make sense that the goat pen is that small. So if I, there we go, goat pen, if I can actually read, we got the separate map for the goat pen, so I've included that, and this is where the goats have all been transformed into basically giant hyenas or equivalent of, so we're using those. Now it's going to be really interesting when my party get to this point, because the druid spent quite a lot of time with the goats. And I'm not sure how I'm going to play that now the goats have all been polymorphed into giant hyenas. Do they remember all of the kindness of the druid, giving them, you know, she used plant growth to make sure that they had much nicer vegetation to eat and things like that. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to handle this just yet. They might even end up with a giant hyena as an ally for a little bit of this encounter. Who knows? We will see how that pans out. And then the last part of inside the maze here is when they eventually get through it, and they notice that there's a number of ways they can go and go the wrong way and things, all to try and bleed time. They end up at Babala Saga's hut here, ready for that encounter. I didn't want to do it on here, so I did create a completely separate map for it. It's not great to have the fog on when I'm showing you on the video, because it doesn't pick it up quite so well. But we've got this ready to go. Now what I've done is I have replaced the tile for the hut. We still have the roof for the hut, which we can hide, but the tile actually is now an actor, because it's supposed to be. Okay, because they're just making sure that's back in the right place. It is. Because the house comes to life and they have to fight the house alongside Babala Saga. Bella? Just making this up, aren't I? Babala Saga. So that is now an active token, and you can see that it's got all of its stat blocks. It's got the stolen gem, etc. Its root rock, throw attacks, and everything else like that is all in there ready to go for you, which is great. And we've got two versions of Baba here. So we've got the Witch Mother, which is the form that they found her in. We've had to update it because, again, part of Dragna Carter's update was to change a lot of the major NPCs and monsters, Strahd's forces, etc., to give them that multi-phase monster thing. And Babala Saga is one of those. So we've got her as the Witch Mother, with all of her attacks and everything in there. Now remember, this is not, because of the way that this is being packaged, it is not, doesn't have all the MIDI automations and stuff like that in there, so don't expect to pick this up and this automatically be fully automated, although a lot of it will be. If you're using things like medkit, you'll find a bunch of this stuff will update. If you're using CPR medkit, loads of it won't. Swarm is not a normal thing. Either forms of it. Devouring flies is not a normal thing, so they all need to be looked at individually. And again, One of the challenges of Dragna Carter's version, turning it to Foundry, is so much is customized. It's not base game stuff, so you need to do that manually yourself. But anyway, that's kind of irrelevant because we're not using those mods for building this. I'm using them for playing, just not using them for building. We've got all of our spell lists and things like that. All the ones are at will, including the ones that I have limited uses per day. And then we've got her second form as well, where we've got a grasping vine, we've got a swamp walk and things like that instead. So that's all in here, and a much reduced spell list. So we've got both of those versions in here, and they both start off hidden until they actually start that encounter. And of course we have got the treasures that they can raid from the house, which again is another interesting thing. Is in the original module it gives you what treasure is found here. In Dragna Carter's version, it doesn't mention any of the treasures and stuff like that. It hasn't changed any of them. And I do wonder how many scenes where I've completed it and then forgot to check the original module to see if there was any treasure. I might be being way too stingy to my individual players, but there we go. Tough. We also have over here, just off scene, we have the Martikov family ready to be rescued. Okay, so you can just turn this straight into the role-playing scene from that. They're all ready to go on here. And then from there, they're off to the swamp fane itself, which is across the river. So again, just going to inside the maze. The swamp fane is actually over here. Okay, so it's on the same map, so you can go back to this map and use that. I mean, you know, if you want to, what you can do is you can go all of those, unlock them, delete, and then you've got this map without all the hedges to take that down for when they've defeated Bella Lysaga. You might want to clone this scene, so you've got one of each, whichever, it doesn't matter. Once it's built, of course, you just re-import the scene, it will put all your hedges back if you need to. Right, so the swamp fane, that is here, ready to go with its phase spiders, etc. And this is the first of the fanes that they actually deal with and settle it down, which is great. That's as far as we've got. I know I've got another scene here for the Lunar River Crossroads. That is obtaining the gem from Bella Lysaga, dealing with the swamp fane. That's one of the 3 fanes done at that point. So what is next to follow on from this? I'm on Lunar River Crossroads because the next thing to do is the Monster Hunter. In fact, let me just drag this over just to show you. So we're on the 3 fanes over here. Let's zoom that in a bit. We're on to then the Monster Hunter, which starts with the Lunar River Crossroads. So on the right hand side here, we've done the Return to Soldav, we've done Descending the Mountain, we've done the Witch of Berez, on all of that lot. We're now on to the Monster Hunter. So we've got the River Crossroads, the Vistani Camp. Now we've already got those, so great. The Caravan, and then the Forest Fane. So that's not a huge one on the surface. I don't think that's a big problem to do. And then we've got a Light in the Dark, which is back in Vallaki, dealing with Lady Watchta, and dealing with her, back to the Stockyard, and then the Mountain Fane. So again, I don't think there's a huge amount here. As the player's approach to megaliths, I just need to make sure I've got maps for that. So we've broken the back of Arc T, which has been a right pain in the bum, and we've got the first gem done. We'll get the second gem done as part of the Monster Hunter, and then we'll get the third gem done as a Light in the Dark, and that takes us on to the Dawn of Dreams. So the War Council, the Dream itself, the Whispering Wall we've already got, blah 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 blah, the Lake Zarovich. So a lot of these things we've already got. You know, a lot of these scenes, but there's a lot of them to rebuild and to double check, so that will take a while. But we are getting close. So what's our very last thing here? The sun rises. There we go. This is what we're aiming for. Yeah, absolutely lovely jubbly. That's I think that's definitely defeating Strahd. Completes the campaign. Here we go. Have 25,000 experience points. End of campaign. You probably won't get to use them. Now I've got some cunning plans for what happens at the very end here, and I've got an extra chapter. Not quite a chapter, a epilogue that I'm adding on here that I'm not going to say in this video because I don't want to give it away if not just some of my players, but one specific player happens to watch these videos. They have been told not to spoilers, but for me, I've got a lovely little crowning piece to go on here. It's going to really annoy one of my players in a kind of a good way. I think the player's going to love it, the character's going to hate it. Anyway, that's it. So, bit of an update. Now, of course, the pack that is being released will include all of these new scenes. It will include all of the additional monsters and things in here. So all of these extra stuff that we've built and added in, NPCs and everything else like that. The new Babala Saga. We've got the new items. So the Act 4, we've built that out. We've got the different Feigned gems are in here. We've got all of those bits, the spell scrolls, all ready to go. And that's about it. All right. Thank you for watching. Now, as always, of course, if you are utilizing this, two things. One, you're more than welcome to use it exactly as it is or to chop it to pieces. If you like some of my scenes and you want to use them and you don't like others, fine. Use the bits you like, chuck away the bits you don't. I'm not precious about it. If it saves you a bit of time, it's worth doing, absolutely. I'm running this anyway. Swap out maps, things like that. Swap out any images you want to. I'm really not going to be offended. I wouldn't even know unless you choose to tell me. But even if you tell me, I won't be offended. I don't really care. It's got to work for you and your group. If you do spot any little issues and errors, and I suspect that there will be some because there always is, you can either drop it in a comment on any of the Curse of Strahd videos. This one makes sense, of course. You can visit the GitHub and open an issue there. Then I can follow that up, or any other ways that you can get in contact with me. By all means, just let me know and go, hey, look, I've spotted this looks wonky, or I'm missing an image or something like that. Yeah, let me know. Leave a like. If you're not subscribed, please do so. It really does help out the channel. There is a link in the description to my Patreon if you do want to support me. There's a free Patreon as well as paid ones. You don't have to actually cough up any dosh, but if you do, that would be greatly appreciated. With some of the things like the maps that I'm creating myself for some of these scenes and things, I will be dropping them in Patreon for you to download and nick, regardless of whether you have the Curse of Strahd pack and things like that. If I've made them, they're mine. I can do what I like with them, and I choose to make them available to you if you wish to have them. They're not very good. so you know, if you get desperate and you need something, by all means do that. Once I've completed this, I've mentioned it a few times, the project I have next is going to be bringing this module into version 13 and going through and updating it and making sure it's version 13 ready. I do not know how much work that is. We do use things like Monk's Active Tile Triggers, and while that's version 13 ready, I don't know if that's just going to plug and play or there's going to be a lot of fiddling around and things like that. Not too sure. Part of that project will also be consolidating some of the images and things. We have got some duplicates, you know, where they're in different arcs and there's like 3 different copies of the same map. We'll be reducing that down so we don't have that kind of issue. It'll make the whole pack a bit smaller for version 13, and I will be doing that as a base bare minimum modules, and then I will probably also do a more automated version where I add modules in, so you can either have the skinny pack or the mod pack. We know the problem with mods though is the more mods we add, the quicker they go out of date, therefore the quicker my module goes out of date, which is a bit of a pain. I'm rambling again because that's what I do at the end of videos all the time. Thank you for watching, do appreciate it guys, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.